Welcome to The Political Mechanic, where we explore basic principles of government without getting caught up in the everyday politics. Today we're launching something new, a series of short stories from history that every American should know. Why? Because we want to have meaningful conversations about what it means to be an American, what we value, what we expect from each other, and how we face challenges. We need to have a shared understanding of the past. These stories help us build that common ground. This is the first episode in that series, and the story is from the Old Testament found in the book of Daniel. Often these ancient stories from the Bible have timeless messages. Today's story is about how someone with very little political power, just a young man really, chose to respond with wisdom and courage when placed under the authority of a powerful empire. Can you relate to facing someone in authority over whom you have no influence? That kind of challenge comes up all the time, even in our world. So let's take a look at Daniel, chapter 1, verses 3 through 21. I'll walk you through what happened, and then we'll talk about what it means, especially when it comes to how individuals should act when they are dealing with powerful leaders or institutions. So, after Jerusalem was conquered by King Nebuchadnezzar in 587 BC, many young people from the royal family and nobility of Judah were taken captive. This was part of the Babylonian strategy: take the best and brightest from the conquered nations and train them to serve the empire. Among those captives were Daniel and his three friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, who later became known as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The king ordered Ashpenaz, the chief official, to select strong, smart, and good-looking young men. They were to be taught the language and literature of the Babylonians and prepared to serve in the royal court. Part of their training including eating the king's food and drinking his wine. But Daniel made a quiet but bold decision. He didn't want to defile himself by eating food that went against God's laws, his principles, possibly food that had been offered to idols or included forbidden ingredients. Instead of making a scene, Daniel respectfully asked the chief official for permission to eat only vegetables and drink water. At first, the official was worried. What if Daniel looked weak or sick compared to the others? This could endanger his life. But Daniel proposed a test: give them 10 days on a simple diet and see what happens. After 10 days, Daniel and his friends looked healthier and better nourished than all the others, so they were allowed to keep their diet. When their training was over, the king interviewed them. He found no one equal to Daniel and his friends in wisdom. They were 10 times better than all the magicians and advisors in his kingdom. And Daniel, he remained in the king's service for many years through multiple kings and empires because he started with integrity, even when he was young and powerless. So what can we learn from Daniel? Well, first, recognize your standards, the lines you won't cross. Daniel knew what was right according to his beliefs, and he didn't abandon them just because he was in a new place or under pressure. But Daniel also understood the power structure around him. He didn't rebel, complain, or demand special treatment. Instead, he looked for a reasonable, respectful solution, one that honored his values without causing unnecessary conflict. That's the key. Be bold, but also respectful. Courage doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's quiet, calm, and wise. Let's bring this into a modern-day situation. Imagine you're a middle school student or a college student who was given an assignment that goes against your basic beliefs. Maybe writing a prompt that feels unfair or ask you to express something you don't agree with. That student could yell, refuse, do work, or not do the work or make a scene, but they probably won't be effective. Or like Daniel, they could approach the teacher after class and say something like, I wish to do well in this class, but this assignment makes me uncomfortable. Could I write about the same topic from a different angle that still shows I've done the work? The teacher might say no. They might even give a poor grade. But just like with Daniel, standing for what you believe, even when the outcome isn't perfect, still matters. You've spoken with integrity, you've shown respect, and you've made it clear where you stand. In the long run, this kind of character speaks louder than any argument, and I believe is a basic American value. I want to point out a couple of other things as we conclude this video. First, ask yourself where integrity comes from. The second thing Daniel did is he tried to find win-win solutions where everyone benefited. He also used logic. He didn't use emotion. So we can compare that to some modern movements like the BLM, Antifa, the anti-Israeli Hamas riots, the demonstrations, and the anti-Tesla violence that's going on. These do not follow the pattern of Daniel and are definitely anti-American. One last thing, some of the artwork that you'll see in this video are the artwork I found on freebibleimages.org. Just wanted to give them a shout out. Until next time, this is Stephen Thane.